Hi everyone, it's Amanda from Queen of Hearts Photography, and today I have a new tutorial for you. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I remove objects or a subject that I don't want in the photo. There are several ways to do it, and when I first started removing stuff out of photos, I couldn't get it to actually look realistic. It just didn't look right at all. So it took me a while to kind of pick up on different tips and tricks, and I'm going to share with you how I do it. It's not just used with I don't just use the cloning tool and like tediously spend, like an hour and a half trying to clone somebody out, because that just doesn't look realistic to me. Now, in some cases, you would probably have to do that, but in a case where we have a background like this, that's pretty much just all the same. I mean, it's just a green mesh, so it's not really that complicated to duplicate it, and I'm just going to show you how I do it. So here I have a picture of my boys, and my 3-year-old here, he's got a little flower in his hand. He's looking pretty cute, but my oldest son, he's just kind of standing there. He's not even in focus, so I figured that I would remove him and use a tutorial video to do that. So here's what we're going to do. Go over to your layers palette here, right click, duplicate it, hit OK, and then I'm going to go up here to edit, down to transform, flip horizontally. So obviously that flipped the image, but we want to put a layer mask over that. So come on down here, this is your little layer mask symbol, click on it, and then click Control I. And that is going to make your layer mask black. It's going to make it invisible. So if you want to see it, you have to paint it on, which is what we're going to do. That way we can paint it on where we want it. So make sure you have a white paintbrush. Make sure it's a good size if you're cloning something out large like this, and just paint it on. As you can see, that just paints Austin right away. Pretty simple. We're going to have to go in and use the cloning tool, because as you can see right here, we're getting ghosting. And we're going to have to use the cloning tool for that, which I will show you how to do. Now you can get in here with a smaller brush, and using a black brush, which will paint on the original image, you can come in here and try to get as close as you can to your subject to get some of that ghosting off, but the subject was so close that in order to get Austin off there, we're just going to have to, we don't want that much to show, do we? Alright, we're just going to stop there. I want to go over and just make sure that I didn't take off any of Caden. You should probably always go over your subject just to make sure that you didn't accidentally erase any of him. You can see that we have some ghosting here, and this is how we're going to remove it. So I am going to, instead of flattening this, for the sake of me being able to show you the before and after, you can hold down your Control, Alt, and Shift key. Hold those down together and then press E. And it's just going to make a copy of your image here. And we are going to use our cloning tool on this layer. So grab your cloning tool. That's way too big, goodness. Make it a good size, whatever size you need it. That's probably pretty close to good. Make sure it's at 100% opacity. And then just start picking areas that you want to copy. And like I said, a background like this is pretty easy. You want to be a little careful though when you get close to your subject, because you don't want to paint on them at all. And as you can see, we're getting some duplication, like right here and right here, but I'm going to show you how to fix that. But I think that pretty much takes care of the ghosting. I don't think this is ghosting, but we'll cover it up anyway. You can see that there's some repetitiveness, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. So how you're going to fix a repetitive, duplicated, where it looks like you've cloned it, all you need to do is basically spot clone it. So just click on a spot, copy it, and then just click it once. And then you can see that it doesn't even look the same. And you might have to do it a couple of times, but you can see now that that doesn't look like that anymore. And to get rid of this, just click a spot, click up here, and there you go. And now it's gone. And right here, we're going to just click a spot, click right there, and now that doesn't look the same. Click over here, click up here. You just kind of want to hide it, so cover up anything where you see multiples. Like that. That looks pretty good. There's like this right here that we're going to cover up. And then there's Just avoid copying areas where there's, you know, like a major detail that you think would show. Like, don't go up here and copy this and then put it down here, because that's just going to show. Do you know what I'm saying? So you got to try to keep it as, you know, matching as you possibly can. And down here you can also see that the weeds over here match the weeds over here. So we're going to do the same thing. Just pick a spot. For something like this, I'm just going to drag it down. And then you got to be careful when you drag down though too, because then you don't want it to, you know, look repetitive. You don't want it to look like it just multiplied. So just keep spot clicking and spot clicking. We want to get rid of this. So click over here. Probably drag that down, except now we've got this little line here we can't get rid of. There we go. Oh, now it looks repetitive, so you really just have to play with it. It can be very tedious, but in the end you're gonna be happy with your result. So I think that pretty much cleans up the bottom pretty well. If you see anything that you don't like, just cover it up. So I think that looks pretty good. So now we're going to move up a little bit to where the tree is up here. As you can see, this looks mirrored right here and right here. So we're going to fix that. I'm going to take my cloning brush. I'm going to make it bigger because I'm actually going to clone the tree this time. So make a copy of your tree here and just drag it on down. So it'll hide that weed, and then I am going to make my brush a little bit smaller. And I just want to cover up this right here. I think it just looks a little like it's been multiplied. There, that looks better. So like I said, just spot click. So we're going to click over here and just cover this up right here. So that way it doesn't look like it was copied. Down here where it looks copied, cover that up. You know, just a, we'll see now that looks copied too, so just, there we go. Any major copied details that stand out to you, you can just spot click. I think that looks pretty good. Let's zoom out for a second. Let's see if we notice anything. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, this looks different than this side. This looks different than this side. And you have to remember that to you, you know that it's been cloned. So everything's going to stand out to you. Everything is, you know, you're going to notice everything. You're going to obsess over every little detail. But to other people who are looking at your image, if they don't know that it's cloned, they're not going to probably notice a lot of the little stuff, unless it's obviously repetitive, which, like I just showed you, you can easily cover up, especially with a background like this. I do see like this spot here matches this spot here. So, you know, just spot click it, and now it's gone. So, you know, you just really have to kind of play with it, and just remember not to be too harsh on yourself. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to show you, if you hold down your Control and Alt key and hit the A button, it's going to select all your layers, and then hit Control G, and it's going to put all your layers into a group. So you can see the before with Austin in it and the after. And I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to flatten this, and then I'm just going to show you how I would go through a workflow and clean this image up. So I'm going to use my actions, of course, because these are my workflow. These are what I use. So instead of doing it all by hand, obviously I'm going to use my actions. So let's run this really quick. See. And I want to go in here and turn on the lighten layer because I want to add some light. But I'm also going to turn down the entire action because I don't want it quite that strong anyway. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit. That's pretty good for me. I'm going to flatten that. Hit OK. I think I want to add some brightness to his face, so I'm going to use the Sunny Center light. That looks pretty good, like that. Now don't worry about his pale skin. He is naturally very pale, but he does have a blue tint to his face, and that's because he is wearing this blue shirt here, and it puts a color cast on his skin, and we are going to fix that, and I'm going to show you how here in a few minutes. But first I want to smooth his skin, because yes, I know he has baby skin, but we've been over this before, that I just love very, very smooth porcelain looking skin. I don't know. It's just something I have to do to every photo. I just love it. And I love this action. It took me forever to perfect this action because I've been doing it by hand for so long. Oh, why did I do that? I wanted to zoom in. And to turn it into an action was more tricky than I thought it would be. But I'm happy that I was able to do it because I love it and it just makes my time go so much faster. So we're going to go in here. Now this is going to be too harsh when I first apply it, but we're going to lower the opacity. Right now I just want to get it on his skin. See how nice and smooth. Smooth skin, my favorite. Don't judge me for loving smooth skin. Okay, obviously that's way too harsh. I'll lower that way down. Looks pretty good. And we're also going to fix his goofy looking blue skin. Oh, it looks atrocious. We'll fix that, don't worry. We're going to flatten this first. Then I'm going to go into my sun-kissed skin action. I love this action. I used to do this all by hand also, so this action just saves me so much time. I'm going to come in here and paint it on. Make sure you're using your white brush. I'm also going to paint it on his hair because he does have a blue hue in his hair. And he has very blonde hair, if you can't already tell. It's very blonde. It's like my little toe head. Make sure you get all your skin. Don't want to leave any blue. Now, as you can see, there are some areas that are still blue and there are some areas that are still orange. So, or that have turned orange. So we're gonna fix that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this group. Instead of flattening and running the whole action again, I'm going to right click, duplicate group, just hit OK. Now you can see that really brought some more color, but there's some spots that are orange that I don't want orange. So you're going to turn your, first of all, actually, I think I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Just the second group I'm going to turn down just a little bit. Then I'm also going to take a black paintbrush because remember, black will erase that layer. So I want to take some of that off. I want to take all of that off the hair. Just the second group I want off the hair. I don't want it to be so orange. And like if you see any orange spots on the head or the face, like by the eyes, on his hand, you can just erase that off. That way the spots that needed the more color will have it, but it won't be like there's orange spots on his face. So once again, I'm going to hold down the Control and Alt key, press A, gather it all together, press Control G, get myself a group so you can see the before and the after. Really brought a lot of color into his skin, especially if you zoom out, you can really see how dull his skin looked, and now it just looks bright and healthy. So I'm going to flatten that. And let's see, what else do we want to do? Oh, you know what? I'm going to show you one of my favorite actions on the set that I don't think I've shown you in any tutorial, but I used to do this by hand also, and that is going to be take out the blue hue. And we are going to use this on his supposed to be white shirt. I put white on my boys a lot. I know that's crazy, white on boys, only when we dress up. So, if I did it every day, that would be a disaster. But for dress up, it's okay. But it does drive me crazy when when you get the color cast. I hate color cast. Everybody hates color cast. Ugh. So this is how I get rid of it. Make sure you're using a white brush and that you just brush on the white. And it is going to take all that ugly blue hue out. Make sure you get the sleeves. Everything there. Okay, that looks pretty good. You can even do some on the skin too. I've actually used this on skin if I've had a really bad blue cast. Now I want it to be a little bit more whiter, so I'm just going to duplicate this group again. Instead of running the action twice, hit OK. Now you can see that made it significantly whiter, but it's almost too white, so I'm just going to lower it down to like 50%ish. And then I'm going to zoom back out. I want to show you the before and after. Going to use the Control Alt A, group it. Here's the before. You can see the blue hue all over the yellow or the white shirt. Here's the after, and now it's much more white. It looks a lot better. We're going to flatten that. Alright, the next thing I'm going to run is my oil painting action. And I love this action because not only does it smooth out the background, takes out noise, adds a nice little blur effect, but it also makes the background a little bit darker, which really helps your subject to stand out. So I love this action. I use it all the time, especially with kids. So I want to paint the whole background. Don't worry, we're not going to leave it at 100% opacity. Just going to paint it on at 100%, and then we'll go back and lower it as close to him as I can without getting on him. Now if you look over here at your layer mask, you can see if you missed any areas, because what's black is what you didn't paint. So you can see that I have some spots over here. So I'm just going to get the edges a little bit better. That looks a lot better. Now I'm going to lower the opacity just a little bit, like maybe 70-ish, right about there. So that's the before, that's the after. It just makes it look a little bit more dreamy. Flatten that, and then the last thing I'm going to run is my sharpening brush. Now we've been over this before. I don't sharpen the whole image, and the reason for that is because first of all, I took all that time to smooth the skin. Why would I want to sharpen it? You know, the same with the background. I took all that time to make the background look really smooth and pretty, so you know, I don't want to go in and sharpen it. That would be silly. So I just use a sharpening brush. Make sure it's small enough to get the details of the eyes, the nose and the mouth, and the hair. Gotta get that hair. See how much the detail actually really pops out. Then I'll make a bigger brush here and get all over him. I don't really mind getting the skin on his hands because I'm not worried about that as much as I am about the face. See over here if we missed anything, although it's still kind of small. I want to get the edges so that way they pop. But so there's the before we sharpened it. There's the after. You can see the details just pop a lot better. So I'm going to flatten that and zoom out so you can see the overall photo. Oops, get a little bit bigger. And then let's go to the before. So here's the before and here's the after. This is after cloning out Austin and using the actions in the Back to Basics workflow set. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and practice. So, you know, practice makes perfect. I practiced for, my goodness, I don't even know how long, just to get to where I am, and I'm not even perfect. So you just have to keep practicing to get where you want to be. And I would love to do more tutorials for you. So if there's something that you want, please let me know. There's so many different things that you can do in Photoshop. I don't even know where to begin to do a tutorial. I just saw this picture and I thought, hey, I want to clone out Austin. I'll just make a tutorial video and show everybody how I do it. So if there's something you want to see, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you for the next video. Bye, everyone.